Hi, hello, my fifth graders. How are you today? I hope you had a wonderful Easter and you're ready to get back to work. Um, it was nice. It was nice to have some time off. I think we all kind of needed that time with the family, time to sort of rest. But now we're ready to get back to work. So we're going to go over your study guide questions for chapters 10 and 11, which you should have turned into me last week. And I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about the chapters. And then today you're going to read chapter 12 and do one of the worksheets in your study guide. We're moving right along. We're about halfway through the book. And I don't know, some of you might have read ahead. That's okay if you do. Just don't do any spoiling for anyone else any more than I did when I showed you guys that fire video. So anyways, so we're looking at chapter 10. So get out your study guide. Make sure you're on the right page, page 14, chapter 10. Brian gathers wood to add to the fire so it will never die. One of the things that it talks about, and he mentions it very often, is this term banking. And I sort of wanted to explain to you guys, in case you weren't sure exactly what that meant, that when you bank a fire, it means that you build it up really high with a lot of extra wood so that it won't die, so it lasts longer. So it's not like they're going to the bank like and taking out money or anything. And it's not like he's making it a certain shape necessarily, but just adding a bunch of wood to it. They call that banking. We do this when we're camping. We bank the fire so that when we get up in the morning, there's hot coals and it's easier to get the fire started again. But in this case, what Brian's doing is he's actually trying to keep it from going out, period. He wants to keep it lit all the time. So that's what he's saying about banking the fire. Then number two, something awakens Brian in the middle of the night. And in the morning, after seeing tracks in the sand, he eventually realizes that it was a snapping turtle. Now, this part really cracked me up in the book. This is on page 93. When he's trying to figure out what it is. Top of page 93. Up the water to a small pile of sand and then back down to the water, some animal. Some kind of water animal that came up to the sand to do what? To do something in the sand, to play and make a pile in the sand. And then he smiled. City boy, he thought. Oh, you city boy, and with your city ways. He made a mirror with his hand, a mirror of himself, and he saw how he must look. City boy with your city ways, sitting in the sand, trying to read the tracks and not knowing, not understanding. Why would anything wild come up to the water to play in the sand? Not that way. Animals weren't that way. They didn't waste time that way. So then he eventually realizes that it was a snapping turtle. So number three, there were 17 of the round ball-sized eggs. So that's what I got for that. And then number four, Brian ate 6 of the eggs raw. From now on, he will eat only 1 a day. So he decides to ration them. So that was chapter 10. Now, chapter 11, it starts off with there were things to do. And that's a running theme throughout this entire chapter. Brian is keeping himself busy. And part of the reason he's keeping himself busy is a mental thing. And he explains that on pages 98 and 99. He says he had a good laugh about cleaning up camp, and he says, but it was a mental thing. He had gotten depressed thinking about how they hadn't found him yet. And when he is busy and had something to do, the depression seemed to leave. So there were things to do. So part of the reason why he's keeping himself so busy is so that he doesn't think so much about the fact that he's lonely or the fact that people haven't found him yet. So that was chapter 11. So number one, Brian decided he wanted to have enough wood for 3 days. This is in case something happened. He's thinking of when he injured himself, or if he and he knows it's going to be a lot of wood. So that's one thing he has to do. And number two, although Brian wasn't fat, he was slightly heavy. Now all the extra weight above his belt was gone. So he's been losing weight, as you can imagine, because he's not eating as much as he used to, and he's eating just very minimal amounts of food, the berries, and now he has the eggs. Number three, Brian's mind and body had made a connection. I like this part in the book where he starts to talk about how he's changing and he's looking at the world around him differently. He's looking at the world around him differently, and he feels more connected to himself and more connected to nature. which is one of those interesting little things. One of those things I like about this book is the way that he connects with nature in a way that he wouldn't have if he hadn't been trapped. So then here we have number 4. Brian realized that if a bird could catch a fish, so could he. And so he's going to make a spear tonight by the fire, but first he deserved another egg. And then he talks again about banking the fire to make sure it won't go out. Well, he goes out and looks for the right kind of wood for the fire. So I apologize for that. My household was really quiet when I started this video, and suddenly it just erupted in all kinds of commotion. So I hope it's not distracting you, all that noise outside outside my house in the other room, because there's all kinds of stuff going on. Anyways, those are chapters 9 and 10 and 11. You're going to read chapter 12, and then you're also going to fill out page 16. Now, page 16 says, as he as he sets up camp and settles in, Brian uses his hatchet for a variety of purposes and in several different ways. So in the left-hand column, you're going to write the different ways that he uses his hatchet. For example, for protection, he also uses the hatchet to open the turtle eggs. And there are other things that he uses the hatchet for. And then you're going to say, what does he gain? So using the hatchet from protection, he gains peace of mind. Using the hatchet to open the eggshells, he gains nourishment and sustenance. Okay, so you're going to look for more uses, more ways that he uses his hatchet, and then what is it that he gains because he used the hatchet? What is it that he's getting from that use? Okay, so that's what you're going to do, and I look forward to seeing your answers, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.